Hi, everybody. I'm Brian, and thanks for coming on another deep dive into an album in my record collection. And this one was sort of inspired by Jack at Vinyl Martini, who's got a thread going, which is asking us to pull up 10 albums that we haven't listened to in a very long time. And thanks, Jack, because I got into the A's as I was going through the crate, going in alphabetical order, and I came across this baby that I haven't listened to since 30, 40 years, and it is the Allman Brothers Band debut album. Really cool. This is a 1969 album, a 1973 repress on the Polydor label. And I mean, this is kind of a cool album, and I'll get back to it in a little while. In a little while, what? In a little while, why that is, yeah. Anyway, so as I said, came out in 1969. It featured Gregg and Duane Allman, featured Berry, Jaimoe, Butch, and Dickey, of course. And they're an amazing band. And the funny thing about this album is it seems like they came out of the gates sounding just like the Allman Brothers. And I suppose that was because they put in hours upon hours of rehearsal and were able to create this testimony to what they were doing in 1969. Now, it was produced by Adrian Barber in 1969, and some people in the band really liked the mix and the production, while others thought it might have been a bit thin. I've got my own thoughts of it, but they were supposed to have Tom Dowd engineer and produce it for them, and that fell through because of his commitments, and so Adrian Barber was on board. And that's really interesting, and I'll come back to that in a little while. Anyway, it didn't do that well at the time when it was released. It got onto the Billboard charts at 188. Yeah, but greater things were to come from the Allman Brothers in terms of global recognition and influence. Anyway, so after 30 or 40 years, does it still stand up? Let's take a deep dive. Side one, track one is Don't Want You No More, which is a cover of the Spencer Davis Group song. And it's a very tight intro. We get the signature sounds of those harmonized guitar lines perfectly. And the whole band is just kicking up this beautiful concoction of swampy stew. Absolutely delightful. And then all of a sudden it goes into a curveball and drops us into this funk of a Latin groove, sort of a Santana-esque feel, and I'm sure there was a lot of cross-pollination going on around the States there. And then we build towards this thunderous climax with not machines, guitars and keyboards and drums going everywhere until it drops down and we hear Gregg Allman's voice go, yeah! And then comes down into It's Not My Cross to Bear, a Gregg Allman original. And the way it comes down and we hear him starts the singing and I have not come yet to testify. Oh, do you know what? That may be my favorite moment in the entire Allman Brothers catalog. I think it's absolutely so smooth. I mean, his voice is wonderful. I do have a problem with the way it's recorded. It seems to be way out in the back. It's not just in a solitary booth. It seems to be in the outhouse or the outhouse and the house over, if you know what I mean. But how can one person's voice be so gruff yet so sultry, so sweet and yet so dirty? Tasty solos from both Dickey and Duane, and once again that outro to this song kicks back into the blues, sort of the funkier sort of blues or the strident type of blues, and gives us that Allman Brothers Band sound. So important, this song. It was so important that Gregg even named his autobiography in 2012, Not My Cross to Bear, after it. So that's really cool. And then we move on to the next song, which is Black Hearted Woman, which is a really jaunty song, a driving song with a pulsating rhythm. Again, that interplay of the assault between the two guitars, their harmonized lines. And I love Barry's bass playing here. Barry's bass playing. Barry. There's too many Barrys and Berries in the world. I'll go this time with Barry for Berry Oakley. I love the groove here. And there's the drums solo of Jay and Butch. It goes just about the right length before the percussive goodness, before the chanting comes in towards the end of the song. It must have been an absolute killer to see live. And that takes us into the last song on this side, which is Trouble No More, which is written by and credited to Muddy Walters. Muddy Walters? Muddy Waters, the great bluesman. Great to see him getting the credit for that. It's the second song that has "No More" in its title, and it's such a cool blues. And one thing I really dig about this song is the interplay between Gregg and Duane. Gregg singing, and then sort of Duane backing him up with that slide guitar. And I have heard say that this was the first time that Duane was his slide guitar was recorded onto some music. Now, there's heaps of people out there, it's probably you in particular, who know more about the Allman Brothers and Duane Allman than I do. But to me, that sound is ubiquitous. It's so innovative. And did he play slide on when he was with the Hourglass? Or I'm not sure. Please leave a note in the comments. Once again, coming to the mix, all of a sudden we get this acoustic guitar, which is like right up in the mix. And Gregg's still back way out here. And I'm thinking, why is this happening? And it's an interesting thing because we tend to have Duane always pan to the left. There's that left over there for you, and Dickey always pan to the right. And that is kind of annoying to me. I mean, you get to hear them individually, and it works. Sorry, you get to hear them when they're playing together, and it works perfectly for their harmonized guitar lines. But when somebody's taking a solo, I'd really like that pushed out the front. Now, interestingly enough, I think that was fixed in the remix because in this album, it says down here, produced by Adrian Barber. Yeah, now, I don't know whether this has come up, but the bottom line there, I wonder if it'll come up. It says produced by Tom Dowd, right down the bottom there. So this is, in 1973, Tom Dowd went in and remixed the album, I believe. How cool is that? Anyway, that is how side one ends. Not with my laborious chat about Tom Dowd and remixing and panning the guitars and such and so forth like that, but with the song Trouble No More. Now, as good as side one is, I think side two is even better. Mm-hmm. The flip side kicks off with Every Hungry Woman. And this is bringing the Southern funky goodness right into the blues. It's sort of, yeah, it's lifting that sort of groove quotient up a little bit here. Once again, we've got those killer, tasty, harmonized guitars going. And Gregg delivers an amazing vocal, very gruff and insistent and forceful, really cool. So we've got that signature Allman Brothers Band sound going again, and we've got Every Hungry Woman, who starts off with 13 children and she ends with 16. Now that is the blues. And then we glide and slide into this bluesy waltz called Dreams. And this has become an absolute staple for the Allman Brothers and one of their absolute classics. Now, Gregg Allman wrote this, and he said he was inspired by John Coltrane's version of My Favorite Things, he did that in a state of heightened awareness, whatever that could mean. Heightened awareness. We've got that groovy, sultry organ, and a sort of a spider-like bass from Berry, spider-like fingers from Berry on the bass. Lots of big B alliterative words there, but it's really cool. And then we get the vocals coming in and we're waltzing into the blues. If I can read for you. Just one more morning, I had to wake up with the blues. Pulled myself out of bed, yeah, put on my walking shoes. Went up to the mountain to see what I could see. The whole world was fallen right down in front of me. Oh, ho, ho. And then we go into an extended solo by Duane. And apparently he was in the studio and he couldn't kind of get it right. It didn't feel good for him. So what they did in one of these great studio stories, apparently, is they turned off all the lights in the studio and Duane sort of nestled up right next to his amplifier. And you can tell that on the moment that I truly love, when the feedback sort of starts to build and burn out of his guitar. It's an amazing piece of guitar work and a great guitar solo. And then we pop out again. We've got that beautiful stew, that southern stew of piano, organ, bass, two drums, and those guitars. It's the true highlight of the album. And then, of course, if I can get Berry's name correct this time, Berry, we hear that rumbling, that sound of an invasion, the sound of, I don't know, warriors coming. I'm not too sure what it is. And that's followed by the guitars coming in with the drums, and we know we're into whipping post. Those guitars just absolutely thumping it in there, as are the drums. Brilliant start to this song. And then Gregg's iconic vocal takes us away with, I've been run down. I've been lied to. I don't know why I let that mean woman make me a fool. She took all my money, wrecks my new car. Now she's with one of my good time buddies. They're drinking in some crosstown bar. Sometimes I feel, and those soaring guitars take us off into the whipping post. My God, what an unbelievable track it is. Now, funnily enough, this is not my favorite version of the song. When I heard it extended on the At Fillmore East album into 22 minutes, that was pretty amazing. But in fact, my favorite version of this is live, and it's on the triple album First Great Festivals of the 70s, which dealt with Isle of Wight and Atlanta Pop Festival. And to me, it's absolutely so pure and so rhythmically perfect on that version that sometimes I find it a bit difficult to come back to this song. Still, don't get me wrong, it is one of the greatest songs. Frank Zappa covered it, for God's sake. We come to the end of the song. We've got that incredible build up, the majesty of those twin guitars, the band just electrifying at all times. And then we go out on this beautiful minor jazz chord, which sort of slinks us out in a sad way, totally appropriate for the whipping post, and makes us in the mood for more. And that would come very shortly after with Idle Wind South. So this is a stunning debut album. It's sort of, in many ways, redefined or defined or invented a genre. It introduced the world at large to the power of this band, the Allmans and Berry and Butch and Jaimoe and Dickey, and made them a staple of our lives. We've got 6 classic instrumentalists and a vocalist who plays organ as well and piano as well. And the arranging is very pure. So we get to hear them all. And everybody does get their time to shine, which is interesting with 6 instrumentalists. And everybody serves the song or serves to make their part actually improve the song. Superb moments in what I would call a bit of a smile album. Robert Fitton said this in one of his videos the other night, and I couldn't agree more. It's like a smile album. Those first 2 tracks for me and the last 2 tracks are just absolutely incredible. And the ones in the middle are not bad tracks at all. Fantastic. Happy to listen to them. But the heights reached at the beginning and the end take this onto another level. And that's why I think it's a bit of a smile album. Anyway, after thank you to Jack at Vinyl Martini, I may have been another 20, 30 years until I listened to it again. I've got into this album in a big way. I've listened to it 5 to 6 times at least on my walks and all that. And it's been an absolute pleasure to do so. Now, of course, if music of any sound, shape, style, slide, or soul gives you pleasure, then who am I to argue with your opinion? There's some other really cool music videos that I've looked at. There's another cool albums that I've looked at. It'd be great if you could check some of those out and maybe hit a like or subscribe as well. And don't forget, in the meantime, until I catch you next time, I hope you're all doing really well, staying cool, and bye now.